Hello and welcome to another episode of Linux Native. In this series I'm going to present to you different games which do support Linux natively, since this deserves a lot more attention. Also, I do provide some information about them, like what they are about, and if any issues may be present and how to solve them if there's a chance to do so. No worries, I keep these videos as spoiler free as possible, except of the gameplay footage of course. Today I wish to present to you Mr. Shifty, developed by Team Shifty and published by TinyBuild. I already talked about Mr. Shifty in the showcase video series in which I do demonstrate various games running on Linux. Since there is now this dedicated Linux native series, I redo the video for this series as well. This way, the entire showcase series will be about games running on Linux using Wine and Proton. Let's get started. Mr. Shifty is a top-down beat-em-up arcade game in which you slip into the role of Mr. Shifty himself, to fight some evil mastermind called Chairman Stone, also known as the Stone Man or Stone Eye. The protagonist has the ability to teleport himself over short distances and even through walls. Your mission? To steal the mega plutonium from Stone Man to sabotage his plan to weaponize it. By this, you are supported by Nynx, your operator I guess. She aids you with her hacking skills and guides you through the Olympus Tower, the evil headquarters of Stone Man. But things never went as expected, and you soon find yourself fighting against thousands of Stone's henchmen in a very tall skyscraper, with lots, and I mean a lot, of traps. Will you succeed in your quest or fail miserably? One pretty fun thing about the game is the partially destructible environment and the ridiculously over-engineered traps and ambushes you will face, like lasers, explosive barrels and a lot more. Which makes this game a really fun superhero action game. The visuals are pretty good, and the comic-like look adds up to the entire superhero plot very well. Also, this game can be pretty demanding, and will also test your reflexes from time to time. For sure not a game for a relaxing evening after a hard workday. The game plays very well on Linux, and I did not encounter any real issues on my desktop PC, despite some FPS drops where a lot of particles are on the screen or a lot of explosions and physics needs to be calculated. But I assume this is due to its single-threaded nature and that the physics are not offloaded in a dedicated thread or even on the GPU. Nevertheless, this is not a very big deal and the game runs very smooth most of the time. In the past I also experienced some visual degeneration and some crashes at launching the game, but since this was several years ago, I presume those were caused by some driver or library issues. For the purpose of this video, I was not able to reproduce those. The game also runs pretty well on older hardware, as like on my notebook featuring an Intel i5 3230M and a GT 730M. Known issues. Unfortunately, Mr. Shifty does not come without some known issues which may occur for a few of you. Native. Issues with Fullscreen. Attention! Before we continue, I want to state that the following video footage contains flashing images. On some system configurations, the game has a strange window and full screen behavior as like on my notebook, which is also an NVIDIA Optimus system. When the game runs in a full screen mode, it will not get above 13 FPS unless you set the visual quality to the lowest preset possible. However, if you turn off the full screen mode, the game reaches 16 FPS and more on said system even on the good quality preset, which indicates for me that the hardware is capable of running the game at higher frame rates and on better visuals. Some of you may suspect this is due to NVIDIA and the Optimus implementation on Linux, but I can confirm the exact same behavior if the game runs on the integrated Intel HD 4000 GPU. Next, some of you may assume this is due to KDE, but I also tried the game running on IceWM, a lightweight window manager with no desktop environment involved, and the issues were reproducible. Sometimes it could even happen that by switching between window or full screen mode, that the game window starts to flash or to minimize to a very tiny window you cannot resize. If you encounter those issues on your system as well, you have three possible options. First, run the game via Proton because the Windows build does not have this issue. Second, play the native version in window mode at your desired quality preset. Or third, you play the native version in full screen mode and on the lowest preset. Also, I advise to disable compositing of your desktop, since I noted it could influence the situation as well and make it even worse under some circumstances. Since the game did not receive any updates in years, I do not expect that those issues will ever be fixed. So, if you have not bought the game yet, consider that you may need to play the game via Proton for the best experience. Otherwise, if you are lucky like me and you do not suffer from these issues, the native version plays very well. It's kind of a hit and miss situation here. If you now feel like a superhero or want a crash course in how to become one, you should give this game a try. It is pretty fun, even though its replay value is not very high, and I wished for a second Mr. Shifty game to continue this awesome series. But unfortunately, I'm not aware of any such plans. That's it for today's video, and I wish you a lot of fun with the following gameplay. Have a nice day.